as we are embraced in the frequency of the choice point energy and light code. This lunar eclipse is intense and it is providing for those who are attuning to its frequency rapid shifts and change. The moment right now during an eclipse is a time to eclipse that energy by moving out of resistance to it and bringing it to the frequency in which it begins to allow itself to move back into flow state. It is a time of initiation, a time of balance. It is the merging of polarities, of the energies of the light and the dark. It finds itself between the lunar eclipse and the solar eclipse. It is at the 0 point. It is at the center. It is bringing you into that flow state. It is the merging of the energies coming out from the core of the earth itself. All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome. We haven't had one of these Wednesday calls in a little bit. As you know, I was traveling and doing lots of magic with debauchery, and then I came home and I got pretty sick. And so I'm still processing a lot of energy and transformation through that illness. Part of the illness has shown up on my face. So I'm not looking my best, but we just got to let go of our vanity and show up anyway. So I'm moving past that. I'm sure you can move past it too. So if you're new to my channel, my name is Kelly. I have been channeling for a long time, and today I will channel for all of you. I will bring in the Angel Raphael, and those of you who are on Zoom with me, not on YouTube, are able to raise your hand and ask a live question. If you'd like to do that and join our spiritual community, we would love to have you. You can simply join our mailing list. I think it will be below in one of the links, and ask your questions. The questions are to be asked are all universal and not personal. So I'm going to start just by channeling. I think Casey has some things that he would like to ask on behalf of everyone here, and then we'll move into the questions that you guys have. When I channel, I close my eyes, I make a toning sound. The angel Raphael will come in and say, hello, and you're all going to say hello right back, and that's how you connect on an energetic level. Remember that a lot of information may come in. Sometimes Raphael talks in elongated run-on sentences. um, and can be a little bit long-winded, but what is coming through is a very powerful vibration. And as much as the information is supportive and helpful, the frequency, I think, is more potent and more powerful. I have a cough that I'm still healing from, and so if that interrupts the transmission, I apologize for that. I'll do my very best. I think that's everything. In terms of events, we have the Spring Equinox next Thursday. If you want to register for that, it's donation-based. Everyone is welcome. We're at a very potent time, and it will be a powerful initiation and powerful activation, and that's Thursday. I think it's at 1, maybe 2. It'll be on the website and in the link below, and you can register. All right. Anything else, Casey, before I begin?
No, we're excited to get into the questions.
Okay, let's do it. Let's have some fun. All right. So everybody just want to come into their heart center, take a nice deep breath, breathing in love, letting go of stress and fear, and coming into the presence of the here and now. Hello.
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 Hello. Hello.
Hello.
We are very delighted, as always, to be here and to attune to all of you during this time and are curious what it is that you are wanting to talk about.
Hi, Raphael. So it's so great to be here and talk with you today. And at this time where we are, we're coming up to March 13th, which is this lunar eclipse that is stirring up powerful energies. And people want to know how this cosmic event will impact their ability to shift timelines and manifest our desires.
Well, it is of no surprise that the energies are very potent and extraordinarily intense, as we have been sharing and speaking about this month for a period of time, as we are embraced in the frequency of the choice point energy and light code. This lunar eclipse is intense and it is providing for those who are attuning to its frequency rapid shifts and change that are quite sudden and accelerated. And so it is nothing to fear other than to bring awareness to the energy that is inside and around your energetic field in relation to this moon and how it may impact you and your decisions to maintain a sense of stability, a sense of stillness, and a sense of awareness. We have been talking for quite some time about all of these energies that are becoming increasingly difficult to hide or to push under the rug or to repress or to put in the closet in a sense. And the illumination of this full moon, along with the eclipse of its energy, eclipsing much of the frequency of the softness of the feminine, is taking into account that it is becoming more increasingly on a personal and on a collective level to be able to hide from that in which needs to be seen, felt, transmuted, and to deal with energies, especially those in relationships where things are coming to the surface for healing and for change, and stagnant energy that perhaps was able to be in the status quo, in which one could get by, in a sense, with what was happening without having to take a deeper or more authentic inventory of the unfoldment of connections and relationships, not only to one another, but all aspects, whether that be of health or it be in relationship to work, etc., are being deeply illuminated, and you are being invited to reflect in the deepest and most authentic way as to the revealing of perhaps what has been beneath the surface or has been hidden. And there is no surprise that this energy is also playing itself out in the global world and will continue to do so and continue to ramp up because you are going through an acceleration process of a great shedding, a great releasing of all that has been, that has no longer and is no longer serving on a personal and on a collective level. And so this shedding, as it takes place, of course, is always as well an opportunity for rebirth and new beginnings. We do not say this lightly from our perspective, but you are at a critical moment in history, at a juncture that is like no other. And of course, there is always been energies that are powerful and strong. And it appears that every full moon or every equinox or every eclipse has potency and importance. But this particular juncture of time on your planet is more potent than it has been before, meaning the potentiality for a great shift in an acceleration as you step into an actual new form of being, as you are literally, physically, and biologically evolution moving through an evolutionary process. And with that, it will be more obvious as the changes will be seen on the world stage and within your own bodies and in your own consciousness, in your own relationships, in a way in which they have not been seen before.
I was wondering is that a lot of people find themselves stuck, whether it's in a relationship or a career or personal growth. Why do people get stuck in these repetitive cycles? And right now, what might be the key to finally breaking free out of that cycle?
Well, it is simply that it is stuck. It is energy that is stuck. It is stagnant. There is no flow. There is no movement. It is stationary, because the fear of change is overwhelming. And the desire to hide from what needs to be seen is stronger than the desire for the change, for fear is operating beneath the surface. And when fear is operating beneath the surface, it creates stagnation, and you move out of what is perceived as the flow state. That does not mean that other things in your human experience around you may be flowing, energy may be moving, but you may find particular places in which the energy is stagnant and stuck. But it is in the recognition that that is a choice in which one has made deliberately and consciously, even though it may appear to be unconsciously. It is coming into the full and absolute recognition that that in itself has been a choice. And through that recognition, you may begin to own that choice, in which the owning of it in itself begins to perpetuate some flow energy, because it is something that is recognized as you begin to harmonize with it. When you are not in resistance to it and you harmonize with the frequency begins to have movement. It is the resistance to it that creates the stagnation or the pulling back of it, in which no movement is possible. And so, in the deciding, in the knowing, in the reflection that it is your choice and that you are not a victim of it, and that you continue to choose the stagnant, stuck energy, that in itself is enough to propel and begin the movement and flow of the energy, to begin to open up to the possibility that you may decide through your intention to harmonize with a different frequency in which you're entering into a flow state. The flow state that we are speaking of is very prevalent and accelerated at this time on your planet. And the entrance into these flow states is stronger than it has ever been before, because you are shifting from what we call moving in a linear fashion, in a mechanistic fashion, along a timeline in which things unfold in specific sequence, to a more holographic and holistic perception. And through that perception, rather than aligning with a particular frequency that becomes stagnant, you begin to attune to vibrations, and those vibrations then align with the energetic field of who it is that you are. And through that process, those energies begin to choose you. And this is a very different way of proceeding through the energetic fields. And it is one of the things that is happening at a quickened pace on your planet at this time. And so, if you are in what you're calling a stuck state, in which things are stagnant or in repetitive patterns, the moment right now during an eclipse is a time to eclipse that energy by moving out of resistance to it and bringing it to the frequency in which it begins to allow itself to move back into flow state.
How do we discern whether we are actually flowing with the guidance of the divine or burying ourselves deeper in our ego and making a mistake that will lead to the repeating of that pattern?
Oh, oh, oh. Well, you are always being divinely guided, for even your ego can be seen as divine guidance. However, it's operating at a specific vibration that may take longer for you to come into a perpetual accelerated flow state. And so it depends upon the intent behind the decision of what it is that you are moving toward and connecting to, and whether that energy is in alignment with a vibration that is authentic to your true nature, or is coming from a place of a vibration of fear or a sense of unworthiness or not enough or lack. And in those states, you are still being guided, but you're being guided by a vibration that we don't want to say is higher or lower, but perhaps is denser, in which case the flow of energy is not moving at the same pace. And so, as you are attuning to a flow state, you will recognize that things move with ease, that there is grace, that you are feeling deeply supported, that energies are aligning. And that is simply a tweaking in your decision making, in your choice, in your energy, in your intention, because the programming is so inherent within your energetic fields to move in certain directions or through particular pathways of thinking and operating skills, that you may be guided by something that is no longer serving you in the current unfolding of what is possible for you. And so that is sometimes the feeling or sensation you may have, that you are being misguided, or that you are falling back into an old pattern, or that you are moving into a stuck energy. And it seems in those moments sometimes difficult or almost hopeless of how you will move out of that state. And so you resign to that which is familiar. But if you can begin to harness the remembering of the skill and the capacity that is simply a tweaking of your focus and energy toward the intention of the potentiality of the flow state in an energetic way for the highest good in alignment with what is needed, then you become a magnet to the energy and it begins to flow rapidly to you. You no longer are seeking something or forcing something or even necessarily working toward something, but you are intending and attuning to something in which the synchronistic flow energy moves toward you, and you are a magnet, as if rather going out toward something in a linear fashion, you are in a still or 0 point state, and the harmonic wave frequencies are simply flowing, and you are flowing with them, in which things are aligning from your perception in a way with ease and grace. And you notice that that is created simply by that tweaking of your perception, your intention, your focus, your energy, and your alignment to specific waves and harmonic energies that carry specific sounds and colors that you can attune to in your intention and bring that energy into a state with your being.
I guess the question that I have is when we feel like we're flowing with synchronicity, but things start to feel heavier and denser, is that a sign that maybe we're not in alignment with the flow that we're necessarily looking for, but we're following the synchronicity slash flow that we're wanting to create?
You're always, if you're in a full flow synchronicity state, it is very unlikely that you're going to feel this density and heaviness. Now, density and heaviness may come up in a flow state if there's a necessity for a quickening in transmutation of a particular energetic energy that is caught, that needs to spiral out, that needs to be transformed in order for the flow to continue to move, as if a stone has been thrown into rapid water moving, in which the water is moving around it, and there is an energy there that needs to be transmuted. But it is that if the energy becomes blocked or stagnant or incredibly densified or stuck, you are no longer in the flow state. However, that does not mean that obstacles or energies may come into your experience for transmutation, for evolution, for change, and for growth, but it is how you respond to those energies, how you navigate those energies, and how you transmute them from a place of empowerment to then have them become an increasing energy within your being to propel you even forward in a faster flow state.
Sometimes people choose making no decision. They get frozen in analysis paralysis and take zero action. I'm wondering that what can be expected or what might be the unseen consequences of not making any decisions at all.
Oh, well, of course, no decisions is decisions. When you choose not to make any decision and you choose to be stuck and stagnant in what is familiar, that is a decision. And that decision in itself can create also a lot of growth, internal awareness, changes that are happening on many levels with you and your relationships. Just because the decision that one makes appears to be something that would be labeled by an outside experience as negative, that one has stayed stuck in a particular situation, it is that in the stuckness, in the stagnation, there can be enormous transformation. The transformation may not be able to be seen or perceived from outside, but inner transformation is continuously occurring, and one may come into a state of acceptance, surrender, peace, serenity, love, inner transformation through a situation that feels impossible to solve, or that is stuck, or that is stagnant. And so labeling these things as something that is good or bad is irrelevant. It is coming into a full awareness that the decision or the choice, whatever it is always a choice. And it is the removing of victimhood of that decision with complete and full responsibility of even choosing the stuckness in itself that can bring evolution, change, and growth.
As the spring equinox comes up, what do you have to say about how that's going to contribute to our evolution and growth?
Oh, it is a time of initiation, a time of balance. It is the merging of polarities, of the energies of the light and the dark. It finds itself between the lunar eclipse and the solar eclipse. It is at the 0 point. It is at the center. It is bringing you into that flow state. It is the merging of the energies coming out from the core of the earth itself in its primordial waters as it is merging with the galactic core within the 0 point of your heart center, expanding your energetic field and bringing you more into a state of harmony and harmonization with the harmonic waves of energy that are bombarding your planet at this time from the galactic core in which you are tuning to. And it is that those energies now, as they are coming in and moving so rapidly, are stirring up much, and they are transforming much and changing much. And much of that at different times feels frightening and disconcerting, and yet simultaneously the beauty and the magic that is arising from that, and the potentiality of the awakening process of your own memory and knowing in your own divinity is profound. And that profound change is stirring. And so as you move and attune to these moments of the solstices and the equinoxes, they are incredibly potent in your way to harmonize with the harmonic frequencies and the energies coming from your galactic core and from your sun, so that these codes can be assimilated within your energetic body, assisting you on your ascension process.
Thank you so much, Raphael. Do you have anything else you'd like to say about the equinox before I open it up to questions?
Ah, it is simply delighting us that so many around the globe are taking time to honor these times and attuning to them as the ancient ones have. And so, wherever you find yourself and however you are attuning to this energy, we encourage and ask you to honor the full moon as it is arising in the coming hours, and to do the same with the equinox and with the solar eclipse, to begin to attune to all of these cycles, these energies, these frequencies, these potencies, and to feel the harmonic waves that are coming into the planet and utilize them to move into what we have been speaking of this flow state, so that you as a human collective begin to make a choice to fully awaken to these rememberings and energies that are being given to you and brought to you in a very accelerated way from other dimensional realities inside and outside of who it is that you are.
All right. Thank you, Raphael. So we're going to take our first question from DW. And remember that we're asking universal questions, no personal questions.
So, what was the phrase El Kalium Om originally used for in Egypt, and what can we use it for now? Perhaps communication or healing or higher functions such as levitation or teleportation? Is it used for all of those functions mentioned previously?
It is a vibration, it is a sound, it is a tone, it is an energy that is very powerful, just like so many and so many other languages. It is there is potency within it. And within it, it has meaning, the meaning being defined by the understanding of your explanation and attunement to it to receive these energies. And so it is the reciting of that in itself that aligns you with those vibrations in which are being called to you at this time. You are aligning with that frequency as it is stirring and awakening codes of times and lifetimes during ancient Egypt, and the vibrations that were present there that are coming back online now on the planet, that are entering into specific portals of understanding through temples that are recognized, that are being seen and understood as the vibration of that sound is emanating out into the field. The codes that are in relationship to that are now being received all over the planet. But this is occurring not in this particular word formation, but in so many, as the return to these sacred texts, to these sacred sayings, to these sacred frequencies, whether they be chants or whether they be prayer or whether they be an alignment with the opening of the directions. The attunement to a sacred connection in this way is something that is being honored at this time, more and more recognized and attuned to across your globe, which is opening up portals that allow the vibration that is emanating from these particular sound energies to come in and affect the DNA. And so you are attuning to this specific frequency, but many of you are feeling deeply called to many different traditions at this time that are reactivating energies that are necessary for the awakening of you as a collective.
Thank you. Thank you, DW. Thank you, Angel Raphael. And so now we're going to move to Ra's question.
What does it mean that you are it? How can we know and realize this, and releasing doubt about our purpose and our process in shifting to new earth that we are choosing?
I am that, I am. With the emphasis, perhaps rather than on the I am, but on the that. In the perception of everything in which you perceive for a period of time, in the practice of the place of observation and witness, I am that begins to profoundly change consciousness and create an interconnectedness, a sense of unity and oneness with everything, with a perspective and remembering that you are and always have been every and anything in which you can attune and perceive as a reflection and a mirror, as a fragmented piece of self. And it is that widening of the lens, that remembering and that knowing, when repeated for a period of time through conscious awareness of all things observed, through all senses and perception, that I am that, I am, that you can come into a state of harmonic frequency that we have been speaking of, a flow state of unity, and a remembering that begins to support you in releasing all of that that is held within the that perhaps is reflecting something that can be perceived through the lens of love to be what it has always been, which is yourself. And it is the love for that, which is you, through the I am that I am, that the oneness prevails.
Thank you. All right, Susan English, how are you?
What advice or guidance would you give for those of us who are like have, our partners or spouses that we interact with multiple times a day? They're still in the fear, and I'm working on holding love and ascending and helping the collective. So how do we stay positive and out of judgment? We're being interacted multiple times a day with that type of fear and negativity. We're getting more and more divided, I think, too.
It is that there is a divide that is taking place. And this division feels perhaps on many levels stronger and stronger, where the vibrations begin to disconnect in a sense that the energy between them becomes overwhelming and a disappearing of certain frequencies starts to take place. But as you are in the transition of this time that you find yourself in now, as you hold this energy, the greatest gift that you can do is perhaps what we were just speaking of, is to hold the knowing as you look toward this energy that you perceive as denser, heavier, or perhaps in hate, and say to it, not out loud or to the other, but through a place of awareness as you are witnessing it, I am that. I am. You are him. You are the one that is spewing that hate or delving deep into an energy of divide or political despair. That is part of the collective in this moment. And that collective and that energy is in you because you encompass everything, because you are everything, which recognizably is difficult in the human experience of individualization and the idea of separation, to see an energy that is so opposing to particular views of what might appear to be loving and compassionate. But at the ultimate state of pure love, the recognition that that is you, and an acceptance without judgment that it is there and that it exist and that it is mirroring itself or presenting itself in your experience, means without judgment in this statement that it is also resonating somewhere within your field, or would no longer be anymore in your field. Something within your human experience and your relationship would change, in which that energy would no longer be there. And yet there is a tie, there is an underlying love, there is a connection, and that connection has been fostered for a purpose. And it might appear that the purpose is for you to hold a non-judgment, loving, compassionate vibration in the midst of this angst, but it might be the opposite, that you have brought it into your experience simply for that, for your own evolutionary growth. While simultaneously it may appear that you are there to support the other is there to support you, because what is resonating with inside of you is also within him. The love, the compassion, the evolution, the awakening process. It may not be perceived from the outside, but you could not be in his experience if he wasn't resonating with that somewhere on a cellular level. So, somewhere you are still a match. You are still the I am that I am, that to one another in a mirrored reflection of something that is being invited to come into wholeness. And so it is the integration of that energy that resides still within you, and the integration of your energy within him begins to bring a harmonization in which you may be either choose then to come more into balance together, or there may be an integration in which the vibrations will no longer be resident within one another, in which there's not a match, and it will no longer be in your experience. And so, as long as it is in your experience, it is there for a reason. There is a vibrational match, and there is an opportunity to enfold, to hold, and to embrace it in an unconditional, non judging way, as a recognition that it is a mirror and a piece of who it is that you are.
Zoom user. I don't know what your name is, but if you have your hand up and you're a Zoom user, it's your turn.
For all of those souls that go through psychotic events, it seems that there is a split of the mind, that perhaps they are in different dimensions all at once and they're not able to function as a result of that. I would like to know, what is the spiritual meaning of this experience? How do we harness that kind of compassion when we are witnessing the breaking of the mind? And what is that spiritual meaning behind the psychotic events?
Well, there is much truth in that, in which you are speaking of, in that there is an operational aspect of the soul itself that is operating in what is perceived as another realm or dimension, and they are not fully in what is perceived from your perception of what has been known to be relevant in how things should be, in the wholeness of their ability to connect and communicate on this energetic plane in which you are residing in. This, however, can be disturbing as there is a human factor of deep connection, and yet a part of the energy in which you are seeking to connect with is no longer informing itself through the physical vessel and is operating in another dimension. All that we can do is invite you to bring compassion to yourself through this process of disconnection and some of the pain that arises from it. But zooming out from a larger perspective, there is a great beauty in those who made a decision, although so difficult for those around them, to come in and to be in human form and yet be operating simultaneously in other energies, because they are carrying many of these energies and bringing them forward into this dimension as they are bridgers between worlds. And in doing so, they are forming other realities that, on many regards, are quite spectacular, and beautiful work is being done in which they are also communicating with one another in specific realms and dimensions. This happens across multiple things that are appeared or are labeled in your human experience as a disconnect from the mind itself, in which they are operating in these ways. And yet sometimes you feel like the shell of who you have known, or only a small portion or piece of an energy, is still remaining and tethered to the human body. And for those in relationship to that, there is a deep recognition of grief and loss, and yet the potential to come into connection through stillness and attuning to their vibration, rather than always trying to bring back the part that is perhaps in another dimension back here in order to communicate on the level in which you may be operating on. It is also helpful to ground deeply in and to begin to enter into perhaps the dimension and communicate with them at that level, on that soul level, in that plane with them, in which a different relationship begins to be formed, in which you start to notice you may have two relationships with this person, a relationship with them in the third dimension in this experience where it appears that there is a lacking of connection and communication, but yet another relationship on a telepathic level in a higher dimension, in which the essence of the I am, that I am presence, or one's soul essence to another, has a different relationship and connection. And yet, in the human experience, one gets caught in wanting to bring back the energy that appears fragmented into wholeness here. And at times, that is the goal. But at other times, the invitation moves in the other direction, the invitation to go where it is that they are and to build a relationship and foster one in another dimension, which is part of many things that will be happening and changes on your planet through communication in other dimensions and telepathic connections, and operating in relationships that are not necessarily based in language or human form in the way that they have been before. And so they are pioneers in many regards. They are building bridges between worlds and dimensions and inviting through an invitation, although not appearing necessarily that way, to communicate in new ways in which they are accelerating the potential for those who are more operating in linear time to open to the possibility of a different way of communicating.
Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Great question. Great question. Okay, Jessica, go ahead.
Are there humans currently populating New Earth? If so, how long has that been happening? And is there anything else we can learn about that?
Oh, yes, of course. You are human and you're populating the new earth. Ah, yes, of course. You are all moving into the new earth. The new earth is already here. It is simply a frequency, and you are humans and you are attuning to that frequency. And as you do so, you are populating that frequency with the sense of self or humanness. And so, yes.
Angel Raphael, I am so happy to ask you about true love relationship in couples. In these turbulent times, I know and I feel that it's very, very important to be here on the earth, true love couples or twin flames or whatever etiquette is. How can we help our men to recognize true love?
Simply just being the magnet
Mm.
of that frequency, of that love frequency. And then that love, that vibration you're speaking of, will find you. It will choose you. You will attune to it. You will merge with it because that energy can never be separated. It can never be killed. It can never be severed. It is perpetual, it is eternal, it is endless, it is continuous. It may weave into your human experience and weave out and in and out of lifetimes, but it is always present, it is always available. And yet it is a choice to resonate and attune to it, to connect to it, to invite it, to protect it, to love it, to honor it, to recognize it. But it is not something that one seeks or tries to find. It finds you when you are in resonance with it and when it is attuned at a time that it is propelling and moving energy through you, through the creational process to birth something new.
All right, Kathy.
Changing of the energy, the frequency, the density, everything that's swirling around on our planet right now, does that affect dis-ease or ailments in your body from leaving your body with the density that is on the planet now?
No. Contrary to that, it enhances the transformation of that energy in your body and accelerates the healing because the energy in its intensity is purifying, it is purging, it is releasing, it is expanding. And it is not always pretty. It is not always comfortable. It can be toxic. It can take time. But the energy is not keeping it inside of you. If anything, it is propelling it to be released. And during this time between this lunar eclipse and the solar eclipse, we invite you during the equinox to bring into harmonization these vibrations within the physiology of the human body to come back into balance. This is an incredible opportunity for the resolution and the healing on a physiological level of much in the body. This is a very powerful choice point in the body to choose a prana, to choose breath, to choose health, to choose vitality, to choose transformation, to choose healing. And so, if anything, this is accelerating the healing process. In the acceleration of healing process, it might be perceived as dis-ease or disharmony because it is surfacing. It is coming up like everything that is occurring right now on all levels around your planet. It is coming up to be seen, anything that is hidden. And so, if it is a hidden disease or a suppressed immune system or a broken bone, it is reeling itself, it is expelling, it is detoxifying, it is purifying, it is transforming itself. And so, utilizing this vibration and this accelerated energy to propel one forward into wholeness, balance, and healing is completely possible and supportive during this time.
As humans, we tend to draw in people that aren't necessarily healthy for us and can be quite toxic. So what I'm wondering is, how do we change what we draw in? If we want different kinds of relationships or different kinds of love, what do you recommend that we do in order to change that resonating frequency to something that is conducive to a healthier, fulfilling reality?
It is simply intent. The intention to align with energies that are matching your highest frequency. that are propelling you forward through a state of ease and grace. And yet, somewhere in the unconscious, there may be an invitation to those who perhaps are perceived as toxic. But in the toxicity, often is the greatest evolution, change, and growth in the human experience. And so it is not necessary to align with vibrations that are toxic in order to move through evolutionary change and growth. And so you can intend to have experiences that are bringing more joy and resonance, abundance, playfulness, and peace, and to choose to intend that through that you are also experiencing evolution, change within your energetic system and growth. And so it is the shift in perception on an what appears on an unconscious level, that in order for me to evolve and to grow, I must come into relationship with something that is perpetuating toxicity in order for me to transform through it by the need perhaps to create change or to create boundaries or to shift perspective or the way in which I communicate, or if I'm complaining or if I'm gossiping or whatever it is in the toxic relationship that is mirroring itself to you, that is laced perhaps with judgment. And so as you begin to consciously choose and recognize that you can still grow, evolve, feel change within your energetic body and system, but through grace, ease, joy, playfulness, magic, synchronicity, and love, you can begin to resonate with that and begin to attract into your experience those that merge with you in the most playful way, in which growth and change and evolution is still occurring, but it doesn't need to occur in an old paradigm of suffering, toxicity, trauma, disease, drama, etc.
Thank you, Raphael. And so we're coming to time, and I know that we still have a lot of hands, but please come next week and raise your hand and we'll get to your question. But for now, I want to give a little bit of a rest to Kelly, and I want to have Raphael answer one more question today, which is, Raphael, based on everything that you've heard from everyone today and the questions that were asked, if you had one message to cover it all, what would it be?
I love you. I love you. I love you. Reminding you that you are all lovable and you are all worthy. Reminding you of your choice at this choice point to be here on earth, to bring compassion to yourself, to laugh, to be light, to release the fear, to remember you are eternal. And in that sense, to let go of your greatest fear, the fear of death, and know that you are divine. You have always been divine, and you will always be divine. And so move into the resonance and harmonize with the vibration of love itself, transcending this chaos, this trauma, this fear, this energy, in your perception that these changes occurring on your planet, that these shifts are something negative, and begin to perceive the beauty in them, the potentiality in them, the growth that will arise from them, the changes that will take place, the connections that will appear, the communities that will be born, the healing that will take place, and attune to that. And so with that, I send to you all of my love and all of my light, many blessings, and good day.
Good day.
Wow. 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 All right. All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining today. Stay in the love. Hold the high vibration. Know that you're perfect and divine as you are. Be authentic and real and true to yourself and your values. Stay in integrity. Hold each other tight. And don't take it all too seriously. All right? Much love, everybody. Have a beautiful, beautiful weekend. I will see you on the spring equinox. Remember to register. It's open to everybody. And one last thing, Debishri is going to do an art class where we can come and play and learn how she makes all that beautiful art and make wands and do land art. And we're going to have a good time. It starts April 7th. You can also register for that. If you're in our membership, that's included. But if you want to join us for that month, that's going to be a blast. All right, express our creativity and have a good time. All right, love you guys. Have a beautiful weekend.
Love,
See you
love, love. I'm gonna put the link to the art class in the chat for anybody who wants to use it.
Okay,
All right.
the art
Love, love.
class and the equinox next Thursday.
Awesome.
Perfect. All right, guys. Love you.
Love, love, love.
Love,
Bye.
Love.
Love, love.
Love, love, love.
Much love. Thank you. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye. Someone's asking what media we need for the art class. We'll send an email with what you need. No worries. Nothing expensive, nothing too hard. All right. Love you guys. Bye.
Bye-bye.